Hello and welcome to another episode of Autogefuhl. Today with me, AJ and Jonas. On today's episode, we're going to be taking a closer look at the all-new Mercedes-Benz EQA. The front design of the EQA heavily resembles the GLA, of course, as it should. It's the same platform, but it also brings in the design elements from the EQ. So, for example, we have the black paneling for the front grille and these blue highlights. Of course, you get full LED lights. The EQA is 4.4 meters long, and the side profile really does emphasize that SUV characteristics. I mean, it still retains that much better than the previous GLA did. So we have squared off wheel arches with black cladding, and you still get 20 centimeters of ground clearance. So of course it's not an off-roader, but it's definitely rough road capable, I would say. Right now this is only a front-wheel drive version, but you will also get all-wheel drive options in the future. The wheels start with 18 inches. Of course they are more aerodynamic, and you can get them optionally, if you pay extra, up to even 20 inches. I really do like this design. These are the 18 inches. Definitely a little bit more aerodynamic, but it doesn't have that typical hybrid electric car kind of look. This is actually my favorite angle of the EQA. I think this new design for the back, especially with these tail LED lamps which kind of loop around back here, makes it really fresh. I really like this design. It's a lot more softer, but still quite aggressive in a way that it feels muscular. Like, for example, the bumper here protrudes quite a bit out, and I do like this metal finish down here for the boot. The EQA weighs 2,000 kilograms. That's pretty hefty. Of course, you can expect that with electric vehicles because of the battery packs that they have to carry. This is the 250, which denotes this is the 190 horsepower front-wheel drive only variant. But like I mentioned, there will be versions coming out with more horsepower, more range, and even all-wheel drive. Let's take a look under the hood. First of all, we do have pneumatic struts, which is great. It's a Mercedes. I would expect to have it, and I'm glad to see that it's still there. Well, inside here, things look different, of course. It's an electric vehicle. So this is the EQA 250, which means it makes 190 PS or metric horsepower. This is the full front-wheel drive version only. 0 to 100 kilometers per hour takes 8.9 seconds. VMAX is 160 kilometers per hour. It comes with a 66.5 kilowatt-hour battery. Charging this from 10% to 100% with the wall box takes 5 hours and 45 minutes. 10 to 80% with rapid charging takes only 30 minutes. Let's sit inside. Very easy, not much of a step up, plenty of height. There's also a door handle for the driver, which is always great. Again, very nice interior. I like this new, very long twin display system. Nothing new for Mercedes, but it's good to see that. Steering wheel also very nice, reminiscent of the AMG steering wheels used to get before, but now this kind of a sporty steering wheel is available here as well. Plenty of headroom. There is no panoramic sunroof, and again, this tall body means that I have a lot of room. I do have ability to put the seat even higher, although personally I don't enjoy that. I always like to have a low seat, the lowest possible. But overall, very spacious on the inside. The steering wheel has a lot of different controls on it. On the left-hand side, you have the controls to actually navigate through the virtual cockpit. These are nice trackpads, so it's very easy to go through the options, and you get a little click sound to show you if you've made any, navigation. Assistant system controls over here. This is system control for the main menu as well as your audio and telephone controls. Now, this virtual cockpit is highly customizable. At a very global level, you can change the overall look and feel, rather the style. So, for example, you can have sport, and now the colors and the graphics all change for this new style. But I personally prefer the progressive because I think it suits this EQ electric style a lot more. As we go further right from the steering wheel, there are 3 large turbine-like vents, rose gold, also with this ambient lighting, which really looks good because it reflects off of this shiny chrome ring. Glossy black, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but I like the overall look of it because there's soft touch textured plastics here. That pattern inlay that we saw on the door here, more ambient lighting, more rose gold. So overall, a very contemporary design. Let's take a look at the infotainment system. Of course, this is touchscreen, but like I mentioned, you can also control this with the trackpad. Let's start off with the EQ because, of course, this is quite special. Now, you get access to the Mercedes Me network of charging points, which has over 175,000 charging stations within Europe, so pretty useful. In fact, the navigation also has what's called as an electric intelligence system. Now, when you set a destination, it will look into perhaps where there would be charging stations available. If you need to stop to make a charge on the way, it will try to optimize that. It will also take into account the weather. So if it's really cold in one area, it will try to avoid that perhaps so that you don't have to use more energy in heating the cabin. It will also take into account topography to avoid climbing hills and traffic, of course. So a pretty intelligent navigation system. You also have, of course, radio and a lot of controls for the ambient light. You can change the color and the brightness, and I think it looks really nice at night. You also have smartphone connectivity with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, which is very useful, and several other internet-based applications. All right, let's take a look in the back seat. The door opens not completely 90 degrees, and it does feel a little bit tighter than the front, which means that, for example, putting your child seats might not be the easiest. But you still have a fairly tall door, and the ingress is quite easy in terms of the height. But there is a little bit of, the wheel arch impedes a little bit. Nevertheless, let's try it out. I have a handle as well. Yeah, not too bad. Not much of a step up. But the back seat is perhaps not my favorite. And as you can see, I'm sitting fairly knees up. There's not much under thigh support because of the low bench. I do have a little bit of space to slide my feet out in the front. Plenty of knee room. The seat is set to my driving position. I'm 5'8" or about 1.73 meters. But yeah, again, because of the batteries in the floor, perhaps there's a little bit less. They had to keep the seat a little bit lower. Headroom is plenty. I have quite a lot. Again, the lack of a sunroof helps. The seat itself is really well contoured. As you can see, it holds you in place quite well. Fabric in the middle, which is really nice, which grips you. Isofix seats, child mount for the outside 2 seats in this case. There are air conditioning vents here in the middle, although there is no third climate zone. They're also not backlit. They're also not rose gold. USB-C over here. A little place, but this is quite small. I don't know what you would really place here. It's too small to put your smartphone. But I'm not really quite sure. There's a little bit of a rib here, so small items probably will not fall out. Nets here for the seat backs. There's an automatic tailgate, so you can swing your foot under the bumper or use the button on the key fob, as I just did. And there you go. You get 340 liters of boot space. Very rectangular, might I say, because it's now, there's not much impeding. The wheel arches don't impede so much, so fitting items is a lot more easy. Not too much of a loading lip either. You don't have to lift it over. The floor is actually the highest level, so very easy to load things. Down here, you get your charging cables and tire repair kit. Let's talk about the EQA. We're starting our drive out here on the Autobahn, and let's first start off with the assistance systems. So this has the latest suite of the advanced driver assistance systems, and they work really well. So I've put the system in the automatic adaptive cruise control, along with the lane keeping assist, the active lane keeping assist, and as well as in conjunction with the traffic sign recognition. The car is pretty much driving itself right now. It's checking to make sure that there's plenty of space with the car in the front to be safe. It is ensuring that the car is in the middle of the lane. It's not reactive, so it's not, ping-ponging me between the lanes. It's keeping me in the middle. And it's also checking to see if this traffic, the speed limit changes. So if it's becoming, right now it's 120, if it changes to 100 or something like that, it will automatically adjust the speed set for the adaptive cruise control system. So very safe. This is a system that honestly I've grown accustomed to these days. And I think on the Autobahn it's really great because you're doing long hours. It gives you the ability to enjoy the surroundings, share a few laughs with your passengers, and be confident that there's a safety net for you to fall back on. Apart from the advanced driver assistance systems, what I really like is the head-up display. Now, head-up displays are really old news, but this is so vivid. It's actually quite large, but if you don't like a large head-up display, you can remove certain elements. But to be honest, it's about, in my line of sight, about 70% the size of the actual virtual cockpit here. And because they're all very brightly lit, very vivid colors, it's so easy to see. And I never have to take my eyes off the road for anything. And they're also very customizable views. So I'm actually really happy and quite surprised, pleasantly surprised with that. Nevertheless, you have a whole plethora of information here on your virtual cockpit, as well as here on the touchscreen infotainment system. So you have to make sure that it doesn't get too distracting. Now let's talk a little bit about comfort. The driving mode selector, by the way, is down here, and you have different driving modes. And right now, like I said, I'm in comfort because I think this is a good way to test the overall balanced characteristics of the car. Eco, of course, it will definitely get better range, but the performance really does feel strangled, especially in an electric car. And Sport, on the other hand, will start depleting the battery too soon. So I think a balanced setting would be comfort. And again, because this is not the really powerful version, this is more of the every use case, the jack of all trades versions of the EQA. I think the comfort mode, from what I've been seeing so far, is the best suited for the personality of this car. And here, right now, I'm getting an average from start consumption rate, which is around, right now it's 27 kilowatt hours for 100 kilometers. I'll report back on that later on, but the distance to empty, or the range, still reads 350 kilometers, so no range anxiety for now at least. Because there's the lack of an internal combustion engine, there's really no vibration coming in through the steering wheel or through the pedals, although right now I don't even have my feet on the pedals. So it's a very comfortable kind of very refined. But what's really nice, and what we can talk about next, is the different modes for the regen braking. So with the paddle shifters, I can shift. There is 2 modes below the standard mode. So it says D, and then you can go to D- or D-. And in D-, it's almost like a one pedal operation because there's a lot of regen braking. So for example, right now I'm at a traffic light, it turned green, I can accelerate. Again, really nice torque from that electric motor. Front wheel drive only, so of course you have to be a little bit more wary of torque steer and slip. But yes, the minute I release my foot from the accelerator pedal, there's a lot of braking. It's almost like I'm stamping on the brakes. And in this way, I can manage to come to a complete stop almost with just the accelerator pedal. So with just my right foot on the one pedal the whole time. So it takes a little bit of practice because you need to have a lot of finesse and control, and minute inputs, of course, can result in, you know, a lot of nodding back and forth. But once you get the hang of it, especially in the city, this really works wonders. It makes your life a lot easier because you don't really have to keep pressing the brake pedal. But I really do like this interior, and yeah, it might not be the most exciting car to drive. Even in the sport mode, you know, there's still quite a bit of body roll. Steering weight definitely increases, but it's not necessarily, you know, overtly exciting to drive. But I think the best application of this car is not, you know, not as a sporty electric SUV. It's more for the everyday commute, driving in the city, commuting to office. Little, you know, short stints on the Autobahn are totally fine. And you get the luxury of the Mercedes brand. You get this new design. You get this youthful look with these rose gold finish on the air vents, and you get an electric vehicle. So I think it's a pretty good option. Let's summarize today's episode of the EQA. The version that we drove today is the EQA 250, and prices for this start at around 47,500 euros here in Germany. It's a little bit expensive when you compare it with its non-premium compact electric SUV competitors like the Kia e-Niro. But what are you getting for that money? Well, you're getting the Mercedes brand, you're getting this nice design, you're getting that lovely interior, and you're getting all of that technology. In the end of today's drive, we were seeing numbers around 20 kilowatt hours for 100 kilometers, which I think is respectable. Of course, there's a lot of variables that you have to consider. If you keep it in eco mode, drive it in the city, and if it's a little bit warmer and you don't need the air conditioning that much, then perhaps you'll see better numbers. So what did I like and what did I not like? I really like, again, the design. I like the interior space. It's very compact, very easy to maneuver in the city, really great turning circle, but at the same time, there's enough space. It's fun to drive without being sporty, but that's okay. If you want a sporty version, there's more coming out in the future, but 190 horsepower front-wheel drive is enough. Plus that electric motor gives you instant torque, so you get that little rush of adrenaline as well. What I didn't like so much are the back seats, to be honest. I think you're sitting very knees up, and it doesn't feel that comfortable or luxurious. Of course, you have the battery pack in the bottom. So overall, I think it's a really good choice if you're willing to spend that much money. But don't forget, you will get quite a lot of rebates from the government for buying an electric car, so it might make sense. Plus, leasing as a company car is definitely a good idea. Let me know what you think. Put it down in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.